Today's incident will wake up your soul. Please watch the incident till the end. Dear friends, if you haven't heard today's beautiful and unique incident, then consider that you haven't heard anything. How a childless co-wife killed her co-wife's children by giving them poisoned sweets. When the children were buried, the children grew in their graves as flowers. I request that you watch this incident till the end. There lived a rich man in a country who had everything given by Allah, but he had no children. That person would beg Allah and pray and plead, "O Allah Pak, what is lacking in your treasure? O Allah Rabbul Ijman, bless me with pious children too." His wife was also very upset. She was there, but nothing was in her control. Time passed like this. The lack of children started bothering that man a lot. That man used to settle the village panchayat also. He was a man of justice. The people of the village respected him a lot. The villagers advised the rich man to do this and get married again. May Allah grant me children. He said that the woman with whom Seth was married belonged to a very rich family, but this time the woman he married belonged to a very poor family. Seth treated both his wives with justice, but Seth's first wife was very jealous of her poor co-wife. She always taunted her. Whenever she touched something, her co-wife would say to her that you do not have the guts to enjoy such things. Sher Sahib himself had gone mad to marry a beggar like you. The poor woman kept tolerating the taunts of her co-wife. Then a long time passed after the marriage, but Allah did not bless Seth Sahib with a child from this woman also. Seth started getting very upset, and finally, that day came when Seth Sahib put his poor wife in a separate hut. The poor woman started living in a small hut. She was not given any facilities. The poor woman lived in this hut suffering from heat, but even then she was busy praying to Allah and thanking Allah. One day, the merchant had to go out for some work. When he went through the jungle, he saw an old man with Allah lying on the ground. The merchant did not know that this man with Allah slept for 12 years and remained awake for 12 years. The merchant quickly got down from his vehicle and sat at the feet of that man with Allah and started looking at him carefully. But the merchant did not know that 12 years had passed since the old man slept, and now he was going to wake up. The merchant sat there and started massaging the feet of the man with Allah. When the eyes of the man with Allah opened, he became very happy to see the man in front of him. He started thinking in his heart that he did not know since when this man had been serving him. Then the old man with Allah addressed the merchant and said, "What is the matter, son? Why do you look so worried?" The merchant said, "Babaji, I am very much troubled. I am fed up with my life." Allah Wale said, "You look like a good person and you seem to have a lot of property. You are not missing anything, but still, tell me what is the problem." The merchant told his whole story. "It had been so long with my first wife, I did not have a child. So I married a girl from a poor family, and a lot of time has passed, and now I have not got any child from her also. I am now disappointed." Allah Wale said, "That disappointment is a sin. You do this. Go a little ahead from there, you will see a tree. Take 2 apples from that tree and bring them. Your wish will be fulfilled, and may Allah bless you with children." Seth became very happy and reached the apple tree. He took 2 apples, tied them in a cloth and brought them to Allah Wale. Allah Wale said to Seth Sahib, "Take these 2 apples to your house and give them to both your wives. Feed the wives." Sher Sahib came back home after thanking Allah and told the whole story to his rich and arrogant wife and gave her both the apples. Seth did not even remember that I also have a poor wife whom I have kept in the hut because his arrogant rich wife had filled his ears so much that he hated his poor wife very much. After giving the apples, Seth Sahib went out. Seth's wife, who was an arrogant woman, started saying that this was also a strange madness. Has anyone ever got a child from apples? She picked up both the apples and threw them at the back of the house. Meanwhile, Sher Sahib's poor wife came out of her hut so that she could bring some wood and cook food for herself. She was crying with hunger. When she was going, she looked at the back of Seth's house and saw 2 apples lying there. That poor lady picked up both the apples in the name of Allah and was so hungry that she immediately went home with them and ate both the apples immediately, and then said to God. It so happened that after a few days the poor wife felt the signs of pregnancy, so she sent a message through one of Seth Sahib's slaves to call a midwife. when the midwife came and saw Seth Sahab's poor wife. She said, "Congratulations, daughter. Allah has listened to you and you are going to become a mother." Giving this good news, the midwife started to leave from there. Meanwhile, Seth passed by. He thought, "What is this midwife doing in that poor man's hut?" Seth called the midwife to him and asked what was the matter. The midwife told the whole truth that his poor wife was going to become a mother. Seth was very happy to hear this. Forgetting his arrogant wife, Seth went straight to the hut and hugged the poor wife happily. Then he sent 2 or 3 of his servants to serve her. He sent 3 servants to serve her so that the poor wife does not face any problems. When the rich wife got this news, she became very angry from head to toe and started thinking of various tricks in her heart that somehow I would not let this poor co-wife's children be born. If this poor woman gives birth to children, then I will be in trouble in front of Seth Saheb. I will be humiliated. I will not have even a penny's respect left. Then she thought of a plan and called the midwife and said, "I will weigh you in gold, but you have to do one thing for me." The midwife said, "Yes, madam, you give your orders. I am ready to sacrifice my life." Then that arrogant woman said to the midwife, "If my poor co-wife gives birth to children and I remain childless, then I will have no respect left. You do this when the children are born. Think of a plan that my poor co-wife should not even know about it, and her children should also disappear from there, and then take those children and throw them somewhere." The midwife got greedy and agreed to everything. Then the time came when children were about to be born in the house of Seth's poor wife. Immediately the same midwife was called. When the midwife reached her hut, Seth's poor wife did not know the tricks of the midwife and her co-wife. When the midwife started getting the delivery done, the Seth's poor said to the wife, "Daughter, you don't know anything about these things. So it is better for you that when the child is about to be born, you also tie a blindfold on your eyes so that you do not see anything for the time being. And all this will be good for your children. Daughter, I am saying this for your good only." That innocent girl could not understand their trick and she said, "Dai Amma, do whatever you think is right." Dai Amma tied a blindfold on her eyes. Yes, Seth's wife gave birth to 2 twins, one son and the other daughter. The midwife immediately put both the son and the daughter on one side and took out a piece of iron. Holding the piece in her hand, she quickly said, "Get up, daughter. Look, you have not children but a piece of iron." That poor lady started crying and writhing, thinking that Sher Saheb would kill her now. Meanwhile, the midwife secretly wrapped both the children in a cloth and threw them in a field. When Seth Saheb came to know that his poor wife had given birth to a piece of iron, he got very angry and said, "Shame on a woman like you. I thought that Allah would bless me with a son, but maybe I don't have a child in my fate and you are not worthy of living in this luxurious house of mine. You will have to live in a mud hut and I will never touch you again in my life." The poor woman was crying and sobbing. Seth did not listen to her and came to his proud wife. Here, a farmer and his wife were working in the fields. They were childless. When they saw the children, they became very happy and started thanking Allah. They picked up both the children and took them to their home and started raising them. They extracted goat's milk and fed it to both their children. In doing this, the children grew up a little. Meanwhile, the wife of the cruel Seth came to know that the children were alive. She was furious on hearing this. She called the midwife again and said, "What have you done? I told you as soon as the children were born, but you left the children alive. Today, they are growing up in the farmer's house." The midwife said, "Sorry, wife, I did not have that much courage. I would have killed the children. That's why I threw them in the fields. But don't worry, now I will do as you say." Then Seth's arrogant wife said, "I don't know, whatever you do, but those children should leave this world. If Seth gets even a little bit of a hangover, then he will not leave you, nor me. So it is better that you kill the children somehow." The midwife then went home and thought of a trick. She prepared a very tasty sweet in which she mixed poison. Here the farmer's children were playing with clay toys near the well. The midwife came to them and putting the sweet in front of them said, "Dear children, I have brought a very tasty sweet for you. Just taste it and see how it is." The children ate the sweet happily after seeing it. As soon as they ate the sweets, the children fell to the ground and died. The farmer and his wife started crying. The farmer consoled his wife and said, "Have faith in God and don't worry. I know that there is a person named Allah living in the jungle. I will go to him with my complaint and he will pray for my children. I have faith in God. These children will not go anywhere. We will get them back." Saying this, the farmer ran to the middle of the jungle and went and said to him, "O pious servant of Allah, my children are no more in this world." It was the same person named Allah who had given 2 apples to Seth Sahib. The person named Allah said to the farmer, "Don't worry." Then the person named Allah quickly took a knife and cut his finger. He took out the blood from that finger and put it in a bottle. Then he said, "Go and take this blood and sprinkle it on your children. The children will get up immediately, but there should be no delay in this work." The farmer came running to the children with the bottle of blood. He sprinkled blood on the faces of the children. The children got up and sat down. The farmer and his wife said, "Don't worry." The wife was very happy and started thanking Allah and came back home with her children. Then the days kept passing like this for a few days. After that, the cruel wife of the merchant came to know that the children had not died yet. She called the midwife and said, "I had told you that children should not live in this world, and what a drama you have created. Why don't you understand, if the merchant gets a hint of this, he will not spare us?" The midwife said, "Sorry, BBG, but I had fed the children poisoned sweets and the children died immediately. What happened was that the children became alive again, but it didn't matter. This time they will not be saved from my hands." Then the midwife quickly went home. She prepared laddus of pearl powder and mixed poison in it. Meanwhile, the children were playing, and the midwife again came to those children and said, "Dear children, I have brought sweet laddus for you. Please check them. How were they made?" The children were shocked because they knew that earlier also someone had killed them by feeding them sweets, which is why the children were feeling sleepy. But the midwife forcefully fed them those laddus. As soon as they ate the laddus, the children died again. When the farmer's wife saw her children like this, she started crying. "What is this, O Allah? What is this? My innocent children are no more in this world. What kind of strictness has come upon my children?" Then she started telling her husband, the farmer, that for the sake of Allah, go to that Allah and think of a solution for my children. The farmer once again came running to Allah. That Allah said that now those children cannot be alive, but still you do this. Pick up the dead bodies of these children and bring them to me, and dig 3 graves. Bury the daughter in one grave, bury the son in another grave, dig the middle grave and bury me and put soil on me. The farmer did the same and quickly dug 3 graves. They buried their children in 2 graves and buried Allah's man in the middle grave and covered it with soil. Then God's will was such that after a few days plants grew on those graves. On one grave there was an apple plant. On the other grave there was a very beautiful rose plant, on which various kinds of flowers were grown. And on the middle grave in which Allah's man was buried, a beautiful chambali plant grew. Time kept passing like this. After a few days, Seth Sahib's servants passed through the same forest, and they saw 3 strange graves on which plants were growing, and on one grave there were very beautiful rose flowers. Seth Sahib's servants were very surprised to see all this. One of the servants tried to pluck flowers from the top of the grave, but the flowers went up and grew so high that he could not pluck them. The servant was very surprised and quickly came back to Seth and told the whole story. Seth Sahib was very surprised and said, "I also want to see all this. Come, let me see them. Take me there too." When the merchant and his servants went to those graves, the merchant started plucking flowers by bending down. The flowers rose up as before. Then a voice came from the rose flower, "Dear brother, should I let them pluck the flowers?" Then a voice came from the grave of the apple tree. "Dear sister," asked the old man. Then a voice came from the flowers, "O pious servant of Allah, should I let them pluck the flowers?" Then a voice came from the grave of the one who is Allah. "No, only a real mother can pluck this flower." This incident made the merchant very sad. The merchant thought, "Why don't I call my Amir queen here and tell her to pluck the flowers?" Then he quickly sent his servant to call his Amir queen and told her to bend down and pluck the flowers. A voice came from the grave, "Dear sister, Ask Allah Wala." Then a voice came from the rose flower. "Allah Wala, let me pluck the flowers." Allah Wala said, "No, only a real mother can pluck these flowers." Seth got very upset after seeing all this and started thinking, why don't I call that wretched wife of the hut? Maybe the flowers will pluck on her command. Then he quickly sent his servants and called the poor wife and said, "Bend down and try to pluck these flowers." When that poor woman also bent down and touched the flowers, all the flowers broke and scattered on her and the graves. Such a beautiful fragrance spread, and slowly both the children of the graves got up and came out. Then Allah Wale also came out of the grave. Seth Sahab was standing shocked and worried after seeing this incident. Then Allah Wali told him the whole truth about how your arrogant wife tortured and took away the children of your poor wife, and also kept abusing her. On hearing this, Seth Sahab got very upset. Tears came to his eyes, and he quickly fell at his wife's feet and started asking for forgiveness, and hugged both his children, and ordered his servants that my arrogant wife must be punished for her deeds. You people do this. Put her in prison and get her flogged so much that she dies there, and she must be punished for her deeds. The servants obeyed Seth Sahab and did the same. Then Seth Sahab returned to his luxurious house with his wife and children. Now there were 2 old couples with them, and this was the same farmer and his wife who had raised Sher Sahab's children like flowers. Then they started living happily. Dear friends, how did you like this funny incident? Do express your valuable opinion in the comment box, and do not forget to watch videos. Subscribe to our channel and become a part of our family. Thank you.